for being here. I'm Julia. I'm the president of Mike.
And I'm Bella. Thank you guys for coming. We're really excited to have Sickamore here tonight.
I'm sure you guys are all as excited as we are for this. So Sickamore got his start hustling mixtapes on Canal Street in New York. Got his first major gig at Atlantic Records at the age of 21. And now he's SVP of A&R and creative director at Interscope Records. So without further ado, give it up for Sickamore.
How's everybody doing? Good.
Awesome. Okay, so we're just going to start the conversation at how you got into music. Like I said, selling your mixtapes on Canal Street, if you want to start with that. And we'll talk about how you got to where you are now.
I'm from New York, by way of Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if anybody in there has Caribbean descent.
Yeah.
There we go. And one thing about Caribbean parents, they always push you to work hard and get jobs. So I had my first working papers, they call it, when you're like 14. So I've been doing internships and jobs since I was like 14 years old. And I worked in an array of different places. I worked in my local park, Prospect Park. Anybody from New York? Okay, Jersey, East Coast area. And I started working in an apartment at 14 in the IT department. Then I worked at Fox News Channel. I worked at Goldman Sachs. I was basically like a Republican, you know? And then I got a job at Nike Town, and as a senior in high school, that was my dream job, you know? And I was like, yeah, on my senior year, I'm gonna get 40% off, it's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna kill them, you know? And, I'm a little older, so this is around the time of 9/11, you know? So they sent me a letter in the mail saying I got the job, which was really exciting. And then that was big, I think it was September 9th and September 11th happened. And then they sent me a letter again on September 15th saying that, they got to put a delay on hiring because of the events. And then after about another month or so, they were like, well, we're putting a total freeze on hiring based on what's going on. Which is pretty understandable, but, at 16 years old, you don't think about it like that. You're like, man, I was really disappointed that that opportunity had got taken away from me. And I had a bad experience at Goldman Sachs too. I used to be on these chat rooms and little chat rooms talking to my friends Instant Messenger and writing raps from people back and forth. And they had a rap battle going on. And one of the guys were using Jay-Z raps, and I copied and pasted the Jay-Z raps from what was Rap Genius at the time. It was back then called Online Hip Hop Lyrics Archive.com. And so I got pulled into the Human Resources Department and said, well, you said all these horrible things on this chat room. I'm like, no, they're just lyrics, man. They didn't want to hear it, so I was under probation. They still paid me, but I was on probation the rest of the time. I was like, corporate America isn't for me, jobs aren't for me, I'm doing something else. So then, between Goldman Sachs and Nike freezing, I was always made mixtapes in high school. I was DJ. People would always ask me to make music, so I walk around with these giant CD cases of music. I'm dating myself a little bit, but I'm trying to paint a picture. And I would make CDs for the high school kids and teachers. And one day somebody came to me and said, hey, you should make one CD and sell it all over the place. And I'm like, where? And it's on Canal Street. So I made a CD, I called it Anthrax on Wax. I printed the copies myself, I made a little printer. And I went out with 25 CDs, and I went to Canal Street, and I was like, hey man, if you buy my CDs, I'm popping to Brooklyn, and they bought 10 CDs, and I went to Brooklyn, and I was like, hey man, I'm popping it, man. You gotta buy my CDs, so they bought my CDs on consignment. They bought 15 CDs. And about 2 days later, I wasn't thinking anything of it. The store in Brooklyn called me back and said, hey, all your CDs sold out. We won 100 CDs. And about that time, to burn a CD took about 20 minutes per CD. Unless you had a tower that could burn 10 at a time. Could you imagine? So it took me about 2 or 3 days to get the order fulfilled. And when I finally brought it, yo, what happened? We didn't see these 2 days ago. And I was like, oh, I was backed up. I had orders all over New York, And, he gave me, for the 100 CDs, he gave me $250. And And after that, I was like, okay, cool, this is working. And I was in business.
Now it's like, hey, check out my Spotify.
It's like, check out my Spotify playlist. But playlists are pretty much like the same thing back then. Being a mixtape DJ, being like a blogger or a playlister or whatever. You know what I mean? SoundCloud playlist person, you know what I mean? Whoever gets you, you know, I used to see that meme like, whoever gives you new music is special. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what it was, you know? But the medium changed, but whoever gives you new music hasn't really changed. You know, like it's still an important thing to do.
Okay, so from there, you want to talk about your first big gig? You want to go into how you started going into A&R?
Well, you know, what happened was, after doing the mixtape, somebody really had to break down to me what an A&R was, because I was kind of running around. And I had a manager at the time, he said, you know, you'd be a great A&R. I think I would, right? I'm like, what's that? He said, well, it's the guy basically finds the label talent in the book studios, they find artists. I'm like, cool. So I got like my first local A&R job at a record store called Beach Street Records downtown Brooklyn. And they had like local artists on the label, and that was my first thing. They made me an office, they paid me like $400 a week. It was great, you know? It was really cool. And then I got like my second opportunity. It was with a producer named Just Blaze, and he had a studio in the Manhattan called Baseline, and he was one of the in-house producers for Rockefeller Records. And he was the big producer, him and Kanye West produced all the Jay-Z stuff. So now we're at about 2003, you know, and 2003 is important because at the time, Just Blaze was wrapping up Jay-Z's album, the Black Album, and Kanye was working on College Dropout, and they just went on tour. And one of the things about when you're like coming up, and my main common thread with today's talk is like, it's not like a linear way up the cynical, like all over the place. So when you're coming up, you need to use any kind of advantage you have. And I had a connection with a place called Unique Sports. So around that time, like the style was these big track pants with like NBA logos on them, you know, and that was the style of the time, so I had a connection there. So I went on the Rock and Mike tour, it was like 50 Cent and Jay-Z, and Just Blaze was the only person who would talk to me. So I wanted to give him all this free clothes, and that's why he was letting me in, because he thought I looked cool and I had free clothes, you know? So if you have a plug, any kind of plug you have, just use it. If you have a friend, a family member, just like, whatever's gonna get you in the door, man, just do it. And I got a chance to go in the music studio, so I used to go visit him all the time. I remember one time, he walked in the room when I was supposed to, and he was talking to Usher one-on-one, you know? And I was like, whoa, it's Usher. Like, this is like big Usher. Like, yeah, Usher. Like, So he was hot. So at the time, I'm like, man, you got Usher in there? Like, you know, like, you guys talking about, you must charge him so much money, you know? You must charge him the beat. He's like, you don't charge people for beats, we do swaps. I'm like, you know, making his song called Throwback at the time. Now Usher was trying to get Jay-Z on the song, he was trying to get Jay to Kiss on the song. And at this time, I'm 19 years old, so everything was just great, you know? So after months of just finding my way into the studio, talking to people, I finally kind of seized my opportunity. Like, I realized I wanted to be an A&R, so I gave him like a proposition. I'm like, yo, man, you know, Jay-Z just retired, you got this big studio, Kanye's kicking ass. Like, what do you want to do? Like, you know, you should start a label. You know, like really? Like, yeah, start a label right now. You got the studio, and I'll be an A&R. You know, we can build it up, we can do anything. And he said, that's all. Like, he made me a deal. He said, if you find me an artist, I'll make you an A&R, but we can't get paid. You won't get paid until we got a label deal. I didn't know what any of that meant. It sounded like a good deal. So I found an artist named Sickamore. I went and called him, like, yo, you got to the studio right now. You know, he likes your music. And the guy was like moving from like Jersey to New York to Brooklyn. And he came all the way from Jersey and we met him and they hit it off. And then, you know, like 8-9 months later, they got a deal at Atlantic Records, you know. So I was really excited.
But I heard you didn't get the money.
Yeah, because that's like kind of like, you gotta, you know, when you're doing these deals, you gotta really do your research. If you have like a family friend who's like a lawyer and understands things, just kind of run things by them, you know?
Rule number one.
Rule number one. So what ended up happening was he ended up getting executive producer deal for like 4 beats or 6 beats, and the 6 beats he got paid $40,000 a beat. And then the guy ended up signing to another person's label there who didn't technically have a label deal there, or overhead or whatever. I don't know any of this meant at the time. I figured it out fast. So the deal was like $650,000. They went to Sickamore for recording in advance. He might have put about $250,000 in his pocket, and then the producer made $240,000, which he got pretty much, I think, like 50% up front, so maybe $120,000. Then like a publishing deal was probably worth like $400,000. It was a lot of money on the table, you know? But because my deal was based on overhead of the label they didn't have, I didn't get any of the producer fees. Long story short, I didn't see $1, you know?
Wait, so really quick, do you want to explain that overhead, like the breakdown?
Well, an executive producer deal is when somebody, like they'll say, Metro Boomin, I have a new artist, Julia, you know? And we want you to do 6 tracks to co-sign her and put like, do beats for her, you know? So they'll give Metro Boomin is the deal, right? Same deal, 6 beats for $40,000 a beat. And now I have to make sure this album has this amount of tracks on it, but I'm not technically signed. Then he was signed through a production company, which is like the label, right? And now Julia signed, see that?
Jake.
Signed to Jake, you know, and Jake has a production company, so he has the rights to the label, but I'm responsible for 6 beats in the music, right? So the overhead, since Jake is the label, right? Since Jake is the label, he's the one who would get overhead from Atlantic Records at the time. And if he's getting paid, or let's say he gets paid $1 million in overhead a year, that means they give you about $250,000 every 3 months, and you can do whatever you want with it. But you're supposed to have like staffing, studio, overhead, whatever, you know? But since technically I did the deal with Just Blade, with Metro, and I didn't do the deal with Jake, you know? I was kind of like, I was asked out, you know? But what ended up happening was Jake, at the time, was my mentor in hip-hop, saw like me and saw like, oh, I had talent, and he started having me come around. Because when I was coming around still learning, because I was really frustrated at the time. But one thing I did do right in that situation is I got my credit. So what I ended up doing when the guy got the deal, I went and got to the Source, XXL, and I did all this press. You know what I mean? The story was, sorry, I'm back up. The story was, I got this 19-year-old kid doing A&R for this big producer, and because of all the press, everyone was hitting me up. So Jake C waved me up and said, hey, why don't you work directly for me? And Jake introduced me to the head of hip-hop, introduced me to the head of Atlantic Records, Craig County, and they got me my first job at 21. I was doing A&R there. And my negotiation was really cool, right? So like they brought me in and they sat me down and they said, well, you really want, I told them the whole story I just told you. And they said, well, what do you want? You know, like 21, you don't really know anything. So I'm like, I want a cool title. It's like, how does director of A&R sound? I'm like, yes. And I'm like, I want an office. And like, we get you an office, like, so sign me up, you know what I mean? And that was like my first gig.
Is that typical of a 21-year-old going into A&R? Yeah, a title in an office.
No, not at all. But you know, you get what you negotiate, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think in this day and age, where you kind of like curate your own personality and your narrative, you know, like the social media has a lot of negative aspects to it, but there's a lot of positive aspects to it too. Like back then I had to go and talk to all these different press people and write a story on it. But now, you know, you can really write your own story and have your own people follow and write your own narrative. So you can use social media like to post pictures of your food or your boyfriend or girlfriend, or you can use social media to kind of tell your own story, you know. And, at the time I didn't have that, but everybody in this room now has the opportunity. So like social media can go from like, it could be for positive things if you use it for it, just like most people don't use it for positive things.
Okay, so from your first job there at Atlantic, where did you go?
Well, I went to my office, you know. And I was really excited there. And but you know, some things you don't realize when you get, like anybody doing internships at like big companies right now? Okay, so certain things about big corporate companies you realize is, I realize now, in hindsight, is like the 3 parts of the company, right? And so it's your role at a company. There's the technical side, which is the actual role of what you have to do every day. You know, there's a political side of the company, which is like who's cool with who, and who's friends with this, and who hired this person. You know, there's a cultural side of the company, like we work in Santa Monica, and we bring our dogs to work. We work in Hollywood, and we take 2-hour lunches. Like, you know what I mean? Whatever the cultural side. So to me, I was still learning the technical side of A&R, like the basics, but I had no clue what was going on in the political side and the cultural side. You know, if you want to learn more about the breakdowns of these companies and what to look for, there's a book called The First 90 Days. That's really good. I think the guy's last name is Watkins. And it kind of breaks down things that you have to look for. So whenever you get your first job, or your first job, or your second job, or a big role or promotion, try to get that book, The First 90 Days. I didn't get that book, so I didn't do the book for So I ended up failing a little bit. I think I signed an artist, and her name was Winter Gordon. Her name was Diana Gordon. She's an incredible songwriter. I'm like, man, she's a great songwriter. She doesn't just like sing about like love. She sings about like real topics. She's gonna be great. But then like I didn't really have a lot of reach with producers, and I didn't know much. I had talent, but I didn't know much about like the industry. And the person who hired me ended up leaving like right away. Maybe after 3-4 months, I was there for myself. So after like 2 years, I grew kind of frustrated. They ended up like putting like a bigger A&R on the project, aka trying to take it away from me. And I was just kind of frustrated with the whole process because for the first time in my life, I didn't have full control of my future and my destiny. Before I was like, I did the mixtape, so I would put it out. I'm doing this. This is the first time I felt like I had to play this big game. I wasn't good at it, and I didn't like it.
Okay. So you hit this point. So what did you decide to do?
So now I'm like 23, you know, and I'm like, this is not working for me. So it's funny, I was talking to the guy who I work with now, his name is Joey Manda. He's like the EVP of Interscope. And at the time, he was the same exact world of the silent records. I'm like, I'm about to go resign right now. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, watch me. He's walking up, like, it's not working out. I've been here for 2 years, you know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of pride, man. Like, I really want to do good, I don't feel like I can do good here. I feel like I want to go back to the street and just figure out, like, all right, I know I'm comfortable out there. Like, I know how to make that work. This thing right here is too crazy for me. And I left and I told everybody I was leaving, and I started an artist development firm called The Famous Firm. My focus was like, I really want to develop artists from scratch, and I ended up having, you ever seen Jerry Maguire, that movie? It was like a Jerry Maguire moment. Like I got a bunch of interns who were working there and assistants, and I got them all to come join me. And we took them all I was on the 26th floor, and took them all to the 24th floor. And they let me get like an office space over there. I didn't have any overhead. Jake didn't give me anything at the time. So I was like a real bootstring operation. And I started The Famous Firm, and I was kind of just like going around every day trying to develop artists. And that was good because like I met a lot of people, doing a lot of things. The bad part was I didn't really have focus. So good things would happen. Like we got like Nicki Minaj as a client, because I was 23, she was 23 at the time. She's Trinidadian, I'm Trinidadian. I was like, oh, this works, So I was pitching her hard. I didn't have much of an experience, but I had a lot of like, hustle and spunk. So she gave me a shot. So I tried to work with her for 3 months. But at the same time, while working with somebody this is like Nicki fans here? Okay. It's like back in the mixtape days. She ended up, she was really cool back then. And I was helping her put stuff together, but at the same time, I was also doing too much. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times when you're smart and you have a lot of drive, you end up doing too many things. You're not enough focus. Until it took me a long time to really focus. I was always good, but I was never focused. So I was like, try to manage somebody, now do these artist development clients, now start doing these shows. I'm just doing too much. So it all came to a head one day when I was in Maryland, and I had to drive her. I was in Maryland to visit like an artist development client who was paying me maybe about $2,500 to help him do like bios, photo shoots, development. And Nikki had a shoot with Vibe magazine. This thing was like maybe the Sunday. Right, so I have to get back from Maryland on a Sunday. I'm driving like a Charger and has a 22-inch rims, and I'm like moving around, and I end up getting a flat in the middle of Maryland on the highway. And I don't know if anybody knows anything about rims, but no one's changing 22-inch rims on a Sunday in Maryland. So I had to get like a tow truck to help tow me like to New York. I had to tow me to a place that could fix it in Maryland on a Sunday. But she's calling me like, where are you? What kind of manager are you? I don't have a trailer, you're not even here to work and stuff. And I got really frustrated, and I made like, probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life. And I was like, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be a manager no more. Sorry. So she was calling me back again like 10 minutes later, like, you sure you know what you're doing? Like, you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, man, like, because at that point it was all ego, bravado, and I was like, I'm young, I can always do this, you know what I mean? I can make this happen. So, ended up going back to New York, and the company started not doing too well. She ended up moving to Atlanta, get linking with Gucci Mane, and then started linking with Lil Wayne.
You ever look back at that moment and wish you could do anything different? Besides focus.
I don't wish I could do it differently. I wish that if I could do it differently, I would. But, I think I needed to be humble a little bit at that point in my life. I think all that stuff is good for me character-wise. Because sometimes bad things happen to you, but bad things happen to you because you're doing them, and sometimes I feel like life has to, drop you on your ass a little bit to let you know, you gotta chill. And I think that was one of those moments. Because then after that, I started probably going through the darkest time of my life. Because, the company I was making money, but then I didn't understand, operations, accounting, things like that you learn. I didn't have, a business partner. So, everything started falling through the wayside. There was, infighting, I had HR problems, there's all kinds of stuff. The averages, 9 of us were all, 23 years old. We had no idea what we were doing, And so the company started going bad. I got an offer to go to LA. And one of the clients I worked for was like, I move out here, they gave me, a lot of money. I moved to LA. I pretty much dissolved the company in LA. I thought that was going to be, the change of heart. And that didn't work either. And I was like, so I'm out here, I'm trying to make this guy's album, I'm waking up every day, I'm driving to Zuma Beach at 6 o'clock in the morning. And LA is different. LA, a perfect day in LA, business-wise, you wake up, you eat breakfast, you might have a workout, you might have an early meeting. The meetings are gonna be a half an hour late because of traffic, and that's gonna go a half an hour later because of the meetings are just chill. Maybe you have one more meeting in the afternoon, then you have to be in traffic again, you have dinner, it's cool. And that's a great productive day. In New York, it's not like that. I'll meet you for breakfast, and the only meeting is a half an hour in a row. You did 8, 9 things, but it's the different quality of meetings. Because in LA, you might be closer to the person. You know what I'm saying? Because you spend more time with them. In New York, it's more transactional. But New York is all on you. And experience gives you this kind of thing. So, long story short, things are just working out for me. I had some family problems, but I moved back to New York. That's when probably the darkest time for me.
Okay, and I just want to go back briefly. So, because you mentioned focus and you were doing too much, we're in a room full of mostly college-age students who are still trying to figure out what they want to do. So, what would you say to people who are interested in many things and who might want to be doing all of the different things that you were doing?
I think unless you have something that I always feel college is two types of people. People who know exactly what they want to do, or people who have no clue what they want to do. Because it helps those type of people. If you know exactly what you want to do, I want to be a doctor, I have to be in here for 4 years and 2 more years and this and that. If you don't know what you want to do, you can take all kind of range of classes and internships to kind of figure out. I think at this point, even though I started young and it sounds cool to start young, I was burnt out young too. So it takes this time to really explore, try as many things, do as many different kind of internships as possible, do as many kind of group projects as possible, do stuff not really for the money, and just try to see what you really piques your interest. But after you really pick what you like to do, master that. And then you can always add on after that. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you really like the music business, but you want to be a music producer. You can focus on being a producer, get your placements, say Keith did a good job at that. You end up graduating from Howard, I think it was. while having the number one record in the country with Sickamore. You know, that was like a crazy combination. He could have dropped out of school, but he didn't. I would just take this time right now to do as many things as possible. Because no one, you don't have to be 19, 20, 21 years old and know exactly what you have to do for the rest of your life. You know, it's all okay.
Okay, so now that you moved back to New York, what was your next step?
I didn't know at the time. You know, I was living with my ex-girlfriend at the time in Jersey. And I was like a real toxic relationship, you know what I'm saying? And it was just bad, man. I was just like, I was like kind of lost. And, you know, a lot of my relationships weren't going too well, you know, and I was like trying to figure it all out. And I always read a lot of books. That was always like my thing that I would go to. You know, one time I was like in this Barnes and Nobles, you know, in Jersey. Well, I was living in Jersey somehow. And I asked my girlfriend at the time, I was like, yo, you know, I got these books, probably like, I don't know, like $70 worth of books. Like, can you get these books for me? And she's like, you got a lot of books in the house already. I don't think you need any more books. And I was like, man, I'm a loser. And like, I just felt like, I felt bad at the time. I'm like, man, I had an office. You know, I was a whole joint. You know what I mean? And then, so the next day I woke up and I had like maybe like $80. And I took the Metro North and I went to the city and I bought like a notebook, like $25 because I love stationery. Especially when you only have $80. The pen was another $4. And I went to like a park in Chinatown and I just kind of like, I wrote my, I remember the month, I don't remember the day, I remember like June 9th, 2009. So it's almost 10 years to now. And I wrote out a plan and this is probably the best thing I ever did in my life. And I said, I'm gonna write out Wikipedia, like how I want my life to go. You know, and I wrote like a list of like people who really cared about me and I cared about, I felt like it was in my corner. And I wrote a plan out. I was like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna just be focused on being an A&R. Not gonna do too much else and I'm gonna be the best at that, you know, and I don't care how long it takes because I got all these opportunities and I squandered them, so I'm gonna really just focus on this. And I folded up a piece of paper and I kept it in my pocket for 5 years. You know, I said with me everywhere I go. Every year I would just do something else. So it was like first year I was like, first thing I did was break up with that girl. And then the second thing I did, I started doing some shows in Williamsburg, and the shows got me back in the game. And then third thing, I got a new opportunity in LA, so I started going back to LA. And then that person who flew me out to LA in 2009, I ended up getting him a record deal in 2011. And then our opportunity, the same guy who was there when I quit in 2008, Joey, he ended up working at Warner Brothers. So one day I went to go see him. I was like, yo man, I just need something real. I just need like an opportunity. So he said he signed my artist and he said I could just come up there every day. So that's another thing. If you have access to like a big building in the industry that you want to do, and you can get in there, whether you have a friend that's gonna let you up there or somebody's gonna do, just go up there as much as you can. Hang out, make people say hi to you, like, you know what I mean? See if people want things, because after a while, they're gonna think you work there. And it's like, after you're in the building, it's like, you know, it's most likely you're gonna get a job and an opportunity, but you can't, you know, you're never really gonna get the opportunity from your house. So I would just go up there every single day, I would just put myself together as well as possible, and to the point where everybody in the company thought like I was an actual employee there.
And that's when you met a little known artist.
Yeah, because I was going to Houston at the time, I was working with this artist, Kirko Banks, and Kirko was really, you know, hard-headed because he had a hit record with a song called Trick in My Cup. And after that, I'm like, yo, now we gotta work on your album. He's like, man, $6 million, you don't need to work on no album, you know what I mean? I get this money, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, fine. So, I'm like, all right, so I ended up, but this one kid, his intern, was really higher than me if you really thought about it. He brought me a demo of the Travis Scott. And he put me a demo, and it had about 2 songs in there. I think it had Animal and Lovesick was on there, you know. And He was like, I know this guy, I think he's gonna be good, da, da, da. I was like, all right, I like his stuff too, so just bring him in. And Travis came in with his friend Tony Loney, and he came in with his producer, engineer, Anthony Killhofer. He did a lot of stuff for Kanye. And Travis just came in. He's kind of like Travis today, just he had a fade, you know what I mean? It was like mine. No facial hair, no teeth, and he was just bouncing off the walls and playing music and telling me his vision. I'm like this kid is nuts. I just thought it was so cool. He was about 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. So I didn't really have any power technically at the time because, you know, I wasn't even an intern, but I wanted to, like, the heads of the company, I'm like, this guy's gonna be big, you know what I mean? Let's sign him, and they were like, all right, cool, you know what I mean? But he's like, look, you know, T.I.'s gonna fly me out to Atlanta, so I'm gonna come link with you when you get back. So he ended up going to Atlanta, and linked with him when he got back, and I was just trying everything. I was trying everything together. Like I took him like to Coachella, but I didn't have Coachella money or Coachella tickets, so I ended up going to like an offshoot nylon party at Coachella. Like, you know what I mean? That I couldn't really get into either, and I'm already 2 hours away, so we had to make it work. So like when the person like turned it back, we both like snuck in. Fake time and then we just rode back after, and then like I had a friend who worked at Warner Brothers for real, and he knew Meek Mill, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yo man, I'm really trying to sign this guy, can I bring him to a Meek Mill session? You know, he makes beats, like so he good at it, you know? So he said cool, and then at the time when he said cool, we were both pretty drunk, and we ended up going to the Meek Mill session. I ended up crashing and burning the couch, and him and Meek hit it off. And they ended up doing a song that ended up like on Dream Chasers, I forgot the name of the song. I made it. There you go. I made it. And I made it that night. And the guy, my friend Dallas Martin, he's from the A&R at Atlanta. He said, "Man, I never seen Meek ever work with somebody first night they meet." You know what I mean? And I was like big, but he, you know, and after that he ended up signing through Epic, but I kept that relationship. And then like I was a big sign because then Kanye called him. He was working on Yeezus in Paris, so he flew him out there, and then it became a big thing. So sometimes even if like it doesn't go all the way through for you, people are watching like your taste and what you do. You know what I mean? So like, especially in A&R, like anybody here want to do A&R? So one of the tricks in A&R is you kind of get points of people you don't sign as long as you're very passionate on. A lot of young A&Rs, what they do is they tell me about somebody new every week. They'll go to Pigeons and Planes, or they'll go to like IndieFi or whatever, and they'll just tell me about the new person. They won't follow through. If you're really passionate, you meet with them, you get with the artist. The artist doesn't know or really care the difference between like the intern or the president. They just care that, I mean, any artist have? Yeah. Artists care like who cares about them and who cares about their music. Because being an artist is hard, you know what I mean? Because you gotta sit there and work on your music, and you know everybody thinks you suck at first, but except your mom. And then all of a sudden you build a fan base and things are starting to happen for you. So, and you really appreciate all the help you get before you blow up. You know, so if somebody from a label or even trying to help you and give them a studio session, you get them anything, just even show them interest, give them some feedback, it really helps and it really goes a long way. Because they don't really remember everybody after they made it already. They definitely remember, artists remember everybody before they made it. Good and bad. Everybody who shut down doors and them, everybody who opened doors, they remember. So I'll come back to that later. So after that, I ended up getting the opportunity, a job offer in Dutchman. I didn't really have any money at the time, and I was still thinking until I made it, you know? But the job offer, I think they offered me, I forgot how much they offered me. And I was like, nope. And I was a bad one too, so it was just like, and I had to sit on the couch. I'd sit on the couch for a month, and I didn't really have any money, and I didn't have anything going on. And I was really like, dark again, like, man, because now it's about 2012, it's 3 years since I wrote that little piece of paper. And I'm like, man, I made a bad decision, and we're not gonna get another opportunity. And like a month later, they finally called me, and they're like, hey, we went up $10,000 in the money, and no, that's not what you asked for. I'm like, no, I'll take it. And at that time, I was like, I've been on the streets for like 4 years, so I was like, finally, like, they made the right decision getting me, because whoever I start working with is gonna be beyond, like, they're gonna be big, because I was just that hungry, to really make it. So they ended up, first month of the job, they signed me 3 artists. They signed me Lil Reese from Chicago, Lil Durk from Chicago, and YG from Compton. And what I didn't know at the time, they were assigning me all the scary gangsters from places that nobody else wanted to go. You know? But I didn't care, like, you know what I mean? I was just happy to be there, you know? Like, if you could give me somebody in Iraq, I would have been, you know, fine with it. So, like, you know, the first person I really hit it off with was, like, Little Dirk. You know, I had a job for maybe, like, 2 months, and then his manager called me, like, hey, man, you know, Dirk really want to come meet you, and it'll be a meeting big if he came up to the guys and visited us in Chicago. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? That's like a Christmas break. So I go up to Chicago. Anybody from Chicago here? Okay, so I go to Chicago, it's a studio called Pressure Point Studios. And 30 minutes. Well, Pressure Point Studios. And it's like 20, 30 guys with like dreads and hoodies just in the studio playing music. And I'm just out with my notebook like, all right, come on, let's get your old songs. You know? They play me songs, they play me songs, they play me songs. And one of the songs they played me was a song called This Ain't What You Want. And I was like, this is the joint. You know what I mean? And songs are like assets. You know, in music, like when you have a great song, you hold on to it and you don't give it up because one song can change your life.
So is that a gut thing?
It's a gut thing, you know what I mean? And you gotta base it on, you know, your personal taste in music, but hold on to your songs. So Dirk thing started going well, and then YG, I started building up on YG. We were working on his mixtape, working on this mixtape called Just Read Up 2. And he had a song called You Broke that started doing good. And then my favorite song of him was Bompton at the time. And I was like, you know, that's my favorite song. He was like, well, it's my favorite song too. So I was like, all right, now that was our bond, you know, and because I like conceptual songs. And we ended up just working. That whole summer in Atlanta. And one of the artists I was working with before, he had pretty much like quitting on music. And it was like, if you're like any managers in here or anything like that, like if you're a manager and you know, one of the tricks I learned the hard way after like 10, 15 artists is never work with somebody you work harder than for their own career. You know, because that's always going to leave you in heartbreak. You know what I mean? Because they're always going to let you down. So make sure the person that you're working with, you're partnering with, is working harder than you. Or else it's not going to work for either. You know what I'm saying? So after I broke up with that artist, I go through the whole summer, we worked on My Crazy Life. And we came up with this concept album where we wanted to do like a day in the life, like Kendrick's album, but we want to do it in reverse, like Kendrick is in the house, we're up the house, you know? And we ended up making all those records, like Meet the Flockers, and all these conceptual songs, and then again, like some big songs out of it. And the first song that really hit was like My Hit Up, and that ended up really taking off. Like Vine ended up blowing that song up, when Vine was around. And that was like, it really worked hard. We got a song, Who You Love. Drake jumped on it, and I started going crazy. And then it was just a magical ride. And finally, the album came out in March of 2014. And it was almost 5 years today when I wrote my 5-year plan. And I was like, man, everybody loved the album. It was like the #1 hip-hop album. It had a couple of hit records on there. And I remember we was on South by Southwest when it leaked. And all I saw was these memes of like different bloods and people turning C's to B's. You know? And I was just so happy, man. I just started crying. I was just tears coming out my eyes. I was so happy because I was just like finally made it back to this point. And then at that time I was like, man, this plan shit really works. We need to make another plan. And then I'll start the next chapter.
So I want to talk about the creative process of making an album, but quickly before that, would you say working in music, especially, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs and moments where you might feel like you hit a wall?
Yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted to tell a story about the dark times. You know, a lot of times when I go to talks, people just talk about all the good things they did the whole time, and I don't really get nothing from it. I need to figure out like how I get through the hard part. I don't know what to do when things look like everything's shut down. Like I need them kind of tips. You know what I'm saying? And this music thing, this life thing, really, it's gonna go up and down. You know what I mean? A lot of people are like, oh, this person's born with a silver spoon, but then maybe they don't have the grit to really get dirty or have the initiative, and people won't take them seriously. Everybody got their own issues, so just know like the success don't go like this. It's like they just go all the way around, and then you can't even take it for granted when it starts going up, because the second you start forgetting about all the hard parts, that's when you fall off again. That's kind of like a creative process.
So yeah, I know you have your creative process, but before that, I do want to talk a little bit, because we have a lot of people interested in being A&Rs, the creative process that goes into making an album and the roles of the A&R in it, and maybe how people starting out as an A&R start making those connections.
Being an A&R is basically like, A&R is just the basic part of it, it's artist and repertoire. So you're kind of like the middleman for the label. You're responsible for making the album for the artist and finding the artists and developing artists. You also you working with the label to make sure to get the music out, because it's still a job, it's still a company, and they want you to they need releases, and artists want their shit out, so that's like the balance. So you gotta figure out how to make the best possible art for the cheapest amount of money, and timing, because artists might make an album for way too long and lose the timing of it, and the label might try to put it out way too fast and it's not developed yet. So you have to figure out that balance. You're always in the middle. I feel like there's 4 roles in A&R. I made this on myself. It's like the studio, it's the streets, it's the office, and it's research. So you're either really good at one of those 4 to start. Me personally, I'm really good at the streets. You gotta move around and talk to people and get in certain doors. And then I got good at the studio next. Just going working with baby acts and spending a lot of time. No one's really great at the studio at first, because when you first go to the studio, it's a little scary. Everybody's quiet. Nobody knows what's really going on. You say the wrong thing, everybody's looking at you weird. But it takes a while to get it going to the studio. And then the office you really need to get good at after you really make the music. So I feel like the best starting point, the best 4 starting points, we want to start in the studio, get like an internship in a major studio or a smaller studio, work on a producer, and just spend as much time, years really, in the studio, feeling comfortable being in there, because it's big A&R, so it's still uncomfortable. People don't want them in the studio. We start in the office and make sure you get an internship. Even if you don't get in the department you want, still you can always move around. You can always just be downstairs. You're like, no, I'm working for publicity, but if you don't need help with anything, I have this idea. So just try that out. If you start in the streets, then the shows help a lot. Making sure you're on the scene, make sure you always know. I was at a thing also, I always need to know where, where the sneakers are, where the parties are, know where the girls are. Just be like an asset. It's come somebody needs you, like, hey, you're always around. Yeah, here I am, And I always say people who were my mentors, I was collecting mentors, I always made sure they were cool, hey man, you just need to sign up for this thing called Instagram, or you should buy this sneaker because it's a dope. People just need to be closer to the street, because after you get far removed, the more success they have, they need people to help tell them what that is. Research is if you're really good at SoundCloud, this is my weakest category person. If you're really good at finding new stuff on SoundCloud and playlists, and this artist who has 350 playlists, that's super dope. That is a real asset for you there. Especially now, because there's a lot of algorithms that's finding artists. So if you have an ear that you can find it, you don't need an algorithm to find it, that means it's special, and that can get you in a lot of doors. What you need to do is just start locally, telling your friends, putting them on new music, or reach out to those artists and just hey, I'm a big fan of you, I just want to want your next show, and if they don't have any shows, just say, if you want to link up, you need any help, just champion those artists, like what I said before about getting with artists early. Streets, studio, office, that's all 4. So those are kind of the 4 key entry points to A&R, and then you always work on those 4. My weakest is research. My strongest is probably the studio.
Is it super important for people, so let's say kids don't have the street smarts that you grew up with, or the ability to kind of talk, sell a piece of paper, sell a pen? Is that something that's super important initially when trying to pursue this career path?
Yeah, you gotta be a people's person to be an A&R, you know what I'm saying? Especially you have to be cool, especially with the artists and the producers. You know what I'm saying? If you're good with the artists and the producers, everything else you can figure out later. Like I was a real, growing up in New York, I was always really abrasive. You know what I mean? I always thought people were trying to play me. You know what I mean? I always had a chip on my shoulder. I have to read a lot of books. You know what I'm saying? Like Power Now, How to Make People Like You, 90 Seconds or Less. You know what I mean? I could totally, Four Agreements. I have to read a lot of things because growing up naturally, I was not really a people's person. But I have to learn how to. You could learn how to do it. You can't. So you start identifying like I'm just not a people's person, and you're not gonna be one. You know, you can get better. You can get better at the studio. You get better at being in the streets. You can get better at anything. But you just have to identify your weaknesses. But more importantly, identifying weaknesses is also identifying your strengths. Because it's easier to make your strength a superpower than partner with somebody who balances your weaknesses. It's a lot easier than trying to be good at everything. So if one of those four things that you identify with and you want to do A&R or management, just trickle down on your strengths. Maybe find somebody who's really good at your weaknesses, and you guys have a power team.
Okay, and then going back briefly, how much of finding an artist is talent versus marketability now that we have access to so much data, and signing artists that already have big followings versus a label building?
I think the most important thing is like narrative, because I'll give you an example, right? I did one of these talks at NYU, and right after I spoke, Pharrell came in and did like a master class, right? And he had to listen to 3 artists, and he listened to the first artist, really liked it. The second artist he started going crazy over, and that was Maggie Rogers, you know what I'm saying? He went and talked her up and went crazy, and he posted on YouTube, and YouTube started going viral. That narrative became big. So that's like the artist narrative, you know what I mean? Like, and then some of the best artists, you don't have to say their names, but you say their narratives, and it's good. Like, they got shot 9 times, but came back and became successful. We made a terrible car crash, and then came back and made it through, even though nobody believed in it as an artist, you know what I'm saying? It's like narrative. You started a TV show, and nobody understands what. You know, like you would make it like this. You know, narrative is almost as important as the song. The songs need narratives too. You know what I mean? Like, my head would have never grown up if it wasn't for this good narrative on Vine. It was a great song, but kids have to make it into something. So like, look at the narrative between each song and each artist, and it starts getting crazy. The song and the artist match narrative. That's like my specialty. It's like concept albums. Like Astroworld is a concept album. Rodeo is a concept album. There's one giant concept. So like, if Rodeo is the road from Texas to LA and the wild ride it takes to get there, and then Astroworld is after you make it in LA and you want to come back home and you want to rebuild this, you can do a lot in that narrative. You know what I'm saying? You do a lot in that space, and you know what songs to make in the studio. Because now we know we need to make a song like R.I.P. Screw, because we need to hit that zone, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the story we're building, or the coffee bean, because we want to tell, like, even though I made it back to Astroworld, I'm not forgetting, like, when those times were hard when I was a trap coffee bean, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to come up with concepts. Like, I'm not a songwriter, but I can help you come up with concepts if I understand the overall story arc, you know what I mean? And you guys are working on something together. The people ask me a lot, like, how do you work with these artists on their visions? Like, is it like an ego thing? And it's like, not that. It's that, like, if me and Jake are working on an album, it's not like I'm telling Jake what to do. He has his album called, like, UCLA vibes, you know what I mean? So me and him are waking up every day thinking about how to make UCLA vibes, and he listens to Jake as an artist, like, he's not over there. Because the artists are in on it, you know what I mean? They're, like, creating these things just like, you know what I mean? They're creating these auras. So you can partner with them and help them create these moments, you know what I'm saying, from shows and performances. It's a fun process to it, but, it's also real work because, the creative process is work.
Okay, so do you want to go into your steps of the creative process quickly, and then we can open it up to Q&A to the crowd?
Okay. So I came up, after, like, this whole time. I really want to kind of tell a story. It's like, nah, I feel like creativity is can be learned. A lot of people feel like I'm not creative, you know, like I'm just not a creative person. But I feel like anybody can be creative if you kind of change your mindset behind it, you know? So I want everybody, like, if you have a piece of paper or a phone or anything you can, a piece of paper preferably, but if you have a phone, it's cool too. I'll give you 30 seconds. And I want you to write down the first time you ever felt creative. Like think about like the first time you put a piece of paper up and your mom wrote it up. You drew a picture and your mom put it on the fridge. It might have won an award. It might have been a teacher telling you something. You know, like creative at any level. Like when was the first time you're like, oh, whoa, this is cool. Like I can do this. You know, like, oh, you did that. Like, you know, whatever that moment was. When was the first time you really felt creative? And then, like, after you get that creativity, like, Tinker Hatfield, he's a Nike designer. He designed a lot of the Jordans. He has a famous quote. He says, I don't know if it's a famous quote, but it's a quote that Travis told me he told him. He says, you're a product of your imagination, not your environment. You know, you gotta look at yourself kind of like how the artists look at themselves. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. What's your last name, Jake?
Wilson.
Millstone?
Wilson.
Millstone. Not Jake Millstone, Jake. Like, you know what I mean? You kind of design yourself from scratch. So the first thing you want to do is write down your biggest creative goal. Not like I need to make $1 million to get a job. Like, what's the biggest goal you can think of that wakes you out of bed? Like, maybe it's performing at Coachella. Maybe it's putting an album. Maybe it's doing your own gallery. You know, maybe it's starting your own record label. Like, what's your biggest creative goal you can think of? Maybe it's a clothing line, whatever it could be. You know, I mean, sports is creative too. You know what I mean? Maybe it's, you know, starting an all-star game. You know what I mean? Like, what's your, think of the biggest creative goal you can. Step one is goal out of the 7 steps. So the second thing you want you to write is the intent behind that goal. Like, why do you want this? And really think about why you want it. Like, do you want it because you want to be rich? Do you want to get back at your ex? Do you want to show everybody in your hometown you made it and you don't want to go back home like a loser? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you want this goal? Maybe because I've been playing the guitar since I was 7. You know, why? What's really driving you to get there? And the intent's an important part, because if you have the wrong intent, you'll never reach the goal. You know, but if any of your intent is financially related, probably you might make it, but then it won't last. You know what I mean? Because the money won't keep you going. So try to figure out a goal that doesn't have anything to do with money, something that's really going to push you. Like, you look at those movies and things like that, the intent's always crazy. It's almost like they killed my father. Like, you know what I mean? You're not being that guy that won $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have something big. You know. The third step is the sacrifice. Now that you know your goal, you know your intent, what are you willing to give up to get that goal? Like, I remember when Kanye was making My Dark Twisted Fantasy, he had to leave the country after the Taylor Swift thing, and he went and did an internship, I think at Fendi in Rome. You know, like, were you willing to dip to Rome and just chill for 2 years? What are you willing to do to get that gallery? What are you willing to do to get on Coachella? What are you willing to sacrifice? Family, friends, personal time, you know what I mean? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? That's like the third step, you know? I remember I asked Trav that same question. We did a Q&A, like we did a talk at the Grammy Museum. I won't talk about the Grammys. I did talk at the Grammy Museum, and I asked him that, like, you know, what's your biggest sacrifice in the astral world? And he was like, you know, Seeing like my family, saying, yeah, a newborn baby. I didn't think about the time when we were making the album, but like, most people have kids, they go on maternity leave and they're chilling. Like, this guy's still in the studio so late every night. It must be hard, you know what I mean? To still deal with that maybe. So, what are you willing to sacrifice to get that goal? The fourth step, and something, a couple of y'all saw the YouTube or something I did before, you don't know about this one, but I just came up with this the other day. So the fourth step is, I have to learn, I learned it the other day, I came over a couple weeks ago, it's faith. You don't have to write your own word. It'd be cool if you wrote your own version of it. But like, faith is important because it's what's going to keep you going when you run out of money, or you're not feeling good creatively, or your family stops believing in you, or your single doesn't go great, or no one shows up to the gallery, or you don't get into that school, you know what I mean? Or you don't win best rap album, So it's gonna feel dark. So like, what's gonna keep you going that next day to keep you driving is faith. It's not the most important, I feel like they're all important, but it's right up there because that's the guiding thing. You always have to be like, look, this is I believe in. Wherever you get your faith. Some people get their faith from religion, some people get their faith from meditation, you know what I mean? Whatever you get your faith from, it's really the most important part of the creative process because there's going to be times when it gets dark. There's going to get times when it doesn't feel like it's going to work. It's going to be times you feel dumb. It's going to be really dark times, and that's the only thing that's going to get you through. The fifth step is the flow. Now, the flow is based, you only get in the flow based on routine, Now, working in any creative endeavor, you need to set a time. Like, there's a quote from this one book, from the guy who was back in the years. It'll come to me. Oh, The War of Art. And he says, I think Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And he says, here's a quote he got in the book, he says, I only work when I'm inspired. Inspiration hits me every day at 9 a.m. at my desk, So figure out, you have to treat creativity like a job. You have to go somewhere every single day. You can't be your bed. That's the only place you can't be because your body already associates your bed with sleep. So if you try to work in your bed, you're probably going to knock out. So even if it's the same room, you just walk to a chair, it's important that you kind of switch rooms. You know what I'm saying? Don't make it your bedroom. Just go somewhere else. And you want to go and have a spot where, like, chemically your body knows this is where I've come to work, There's another book called Daily Rituals, and they talk about all these rituals of great people. And the one common thread I saw is that everybody wants somewhere to start their day. Now, if you start your routine, whatever your routine is going to be, whether it be workout, meditation, smoking, whatever gets you in the zone, then train your body to do that every day. And then it takes a while. It takes a few weeks. It takes a couple months. But after you do it every single day, you start building a rhythm. You know what I'm saying? The songs just start flowing after a while. You start, the pain start going. Things, working on your jump shot starts dropping. Everything starts happening with the consistency until you get the flow. There's a book called Flow that I want you all to check out. So I don't know how to pronounce the guy's last name, so it's like 16 letters, that's the right book. And it kind of talks about the different steps about getting the flow. And you want to build that routine to get in the flow. And after you're in the flow, when things start happening, the songs start happening, the pain starts going on, that goes into the sixth step, which is the magic. And the magic is when things are going great. The magic is when, like, people are loving you, the concert's sold out. You know what I mean? Like, the gallery's going crazy. Like, all the design, you designed 8 coats in the last week, and you get it picked up by Vogue, and things are just going on. And then the magic is like quantum physics. There's a guy named Joe Dispenza that I like. If you research him, he's really good at breaking it down. And I heard Magic Johnson talk about it one time in the Magic vs. Bird documentary, and he was saying that he just started feeling like he was magic at that point. He felt like he could do anything in that quantum field. And the trick about magic is the most dangerous step. Because most people, not even a lot, most people who get to step 6 forget about steps 1 through 5, and they start thinking it's them. You know, like I'm doing it. You know, not the routine, not the faith, not the flow, not the goal. And they start thinking I'm magic versus like what I'm doing is creating magic. You know, and it's like to make it to this point, it's like driving a car 250 miles an hour. You have to be really focused on doing that. Because the second you take your eyes off the road, you try to start, or when you're doing anything, do a selfie, you know, if something goes, you're gonna crash. So you have to stay locked in, very airtight, you and everybody around you. So the magic is a 6 step. But if you can do the magic and you keep replicating it and do it every single year, you get the 7th step, which is the legend step. And the legend step is a consistency. Now, the people who are greats, all-time greats, whether it be like Steph Curry or Anna Wintour or Andy Warhol or whoever you mind, they do it step by step, year by year, every single year. You know what I mean? Beyonce does it every year. You know what I mean? Like you have to do it all the time, and that's not easy. You know, after you make 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 All-Star games, you get all these awards, whatever validates you, and you put out all these projects, that's when people look back and go, oh, this person is all-time great. This person's a legend. This person has done it for this length of time. And there's a lot of people get burnt out quick. A lot of our favorite artists don't make it to the second album. By the time you do 2 mixtapes and 1 album, that second album is bad, the 3rd album is bad, you're not even a fan of them anymore because they lost that. But the people like Jay-Z, who do it for 15 albums, makes them a legend. And it's really one of the reasons I like talking to students is because I feel like if I could tell people this at this point in your life, and you kind of like, and it registers, even if it registers a couple people in the room, and you do it, like you can see the next generation of legends do it. No one ever breaks down the creative process. I have to figure this thing out between a series of books and projects and albums and things like that. But like, if you repeat 1 step to 7, kind of look at yourself from outside of yourself. Even if you know what you're doing is not necessarily exactly an artist, you're still like a creative, you know? For the most part, everybody in this room is a creative, or else you wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you be medical or whatever, you wouldn't be here, you know what I mean? If you think of yourself as a creative, living a creative life, you have to take creativity seriously, take the process seriously. And, you know, I think part of my life's work, more than being a music executive or an A&R, making albums or taking photos or whatever, is kind of like really understanding and refining this creative process. Because I don't believe anything, I believe in this. I've seen it happen. I work with artists and I teach it to them. They've made it happen. And I'm going to keep doing it. But I think it would be a waste if I just did it for artists. If I just tell everybody how to do this. You know what I'm saying?
So 7 steps. All right, so before we open it up into questions from all of you, if you can strip everything that you just said down, what would be the advice that you give to yourself when you're just starting your career, and where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Where I see myself, like just, cause here's the thing, right? Like I feel like if I was just like wildly successful at the beginning, and everything happened when I was like 19, 20, 21, I don't think I would have been a good person. I think I would have got it too fast. Like you see some of these guys, like sometimes when it happens too fast, it doesn't. Some negative stuff starts happening when they crash and burn. Like just like the Ferrari, like you go up fast, but you crash and burn fast. You really want to do it and build your career nice and slow. You don't want to necessarily rise too quick because there's no depth to it, to you as a human, as a person, you know. So I would just tell myself these steps, really, you know, so that's one thing I would tell myself. Everything else I wouldn't change because it kind of made me who I am. So I feel like when I do these talks, it gives me the opportunity to talk to myself at 18, 19, 20, 21, because anybody in this room can end up taking the advice and really doing it. That's my main thing. That's the only thing that I feel like I can talk about is like just locking.
And where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In 10 years, I don't know. I think like in 10 years I wanna, you know, like I'm always designing, even myself, even when I have, you know, my Jake, I'm just designing, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out what the Sickamore shit's about, you know what I'm saying? It's changed over the years, you know, and I think that me personally, I would like to leave a legacy of a lot of different artists and people who I've helped become successful. You know, I see people like maybe like Coach K at Duke, and like he has all these players that came up underneath him. That makes him great, you know, because all these players were successful. So I look at all the artists I work with now, the bigger they get, it's a reflection on me, you know, so the more people I can help become great rappers or photographers or executives or A&Rs, you know, I want to be able to look back in 10 years and be like, man, I helped like a whole generation of people really be successful. You know, I think that would be my success. You know, I think like, I like to maybe be an academician. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like, yeah, you know, my girlfriend put me on the show, How to Get Away with Murder, give me one such thing. Yeah, I like the way like she can teach, but then like go do like stuff. I would like to be able to teach and go do a film or go do a project. You know, it'd be cool, like, you know, maybe you get the best of both worlds. I think that would be cool. You know, working like UCLA or Howard and somewhere like something cool.
Awesome. All right, well, everyone, let's give it up. Now, if any of you have questions, just put your hand up, and we'll ask you to stand up. We'll start with you.
So like as an A&R, when you're in the studio, do you like try to direct the artist, or do you give them like the total creative power to do their thing and then increase them?
The artists always have 100% creative power. I'm like a coach, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell Steph Curry how to shoot, but you might tell him what to focus on. So my main thing is if we're working on a project, I try to have them like working on albums that comes in stages, you know? Like the first, it's like a game of 4 quarters. The first quarter, you just kind of get new ideas. No idea is a bad idea. It's like a 3-year-old kid, like, oh, that's nice, everything's great. You know what I mean? Because nobody knows what is good at that point. You know, because we don't really know what we're doing. And as the ideas start getting tighter and the songs get getting more focused, then we can be like, okay, cool. The second quarter is like, all right, today, don't forget to finish your second verse of that. Or we're going to work on that a little bit while we're working on new stuff. Then third quarter, when we have kind of like the general part of the album, like, you know, we need another song about something on tempo. We need a song about love because this album's too gangster. You know what I mean? And about the fourth quarter, you just mix it and get everything tight. A lot of the biggest songs of all time come at the end of the recording process because they come at the end of the recording process because you know exactly what you need. You know, it's like, okay, cool. When we're doing a gallery and you're working on shows in the galleries tonight, you probably not your best working out that night because you know exactly what you need to do. So a lot of times your best piece is going to come as the last piece because that's when you're most focused. So it comes from like very loose at the beginning to very tight at the end. So my main focus is just keeping everybody on board. Because a lot of times, no one for artists ever just wrote all their songs out for them in front of them. So you can just see like the menu of what you've been working on. Like that's like not a thing. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need somebody like being there with you. And that's like my role. It's like be a coach, like, okay, cool, like this is what we're working on today. That's one of your best songs, You know, it's just like just having a support system, man.
How do you see like the role of like a record company or like a record label
even like a deal changing as it becomes like a lot easier for an artist to maybe like blow up like, on their own through social media and like be independent. I also like the kids too.
I think the role of the record company needs to change from like artists used to, from like back in the day, used to like sign the record company, did everything for you, you know? Now artists is getting from like A to L to by themselves, A to G by themselves. But most of the time when you come up, you still gonna need a little bit of help, like after you get there, because like after you have like some success and you like do it on your own, you just don't know like certain things. Like you don't know when to put your song out, you don't know this. So it has to be, the role of label is gonna be less like, this is what you have to do. So like a partnership, like hey, like I see you doing great things out there. You should go to San Francisco right now because that's really built out. Or you should really drop your album around this time because that's really the time you need to do it. Or we're gonna double down on pop radio because these people need to hear what you need to hear. It's just gonna be, the dialogue's gonna change. It's gonna become more collaborative versus like the label is gonna save my life. The label's kind of now just like my partner who's here to help me with the resources, build out my team. Because the artists are smarter than ever. So the labels need to get smarter to adapt to these artists. You know, I see their role kind of change into that. You know, it's going to be more like almost like how the NBA is right now. You know what I'm saying? Like these players are making their own decisions. They're like, there's a new thing called load management. You see that? You know what I mean? Like you just sit out certain games. It's like artists, the players are getting smarter. They understand their own bodies in games. Like, and the artists are getting smarter. So smart teams, smart organizations are becoming more player friendly, and I think the labels are becoming more artist friendly. I think it's the same thing.
Thank you for coming out. My name is Will. We're listening to Rap Radio podcast. We did Eliana, and started listening to you describe hers in the track and how much you love it, so shout out to that. But so hip hop was your mentor. And kind of later on in his career, he started working with newer, younger artists. Do you see that happening with you in 10 years?
Yeah, you know, it's like, it's kind of cool, like, you and younger artists, after a while, like, I'm not so good at research. So, only thing that's going to keep me going is, like, my work. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of the new great artists are going to kind of, like, try to seek me out to work in a certain kind of way. You know, hip-hop really taught me the way to really make an album, the way to think about an artist's career, to think of the way to protect an artist and make sure they're doing the right things. And I think, you know, right now working with a bunch of new artists is really great. These two in particular I want to talk about. There's one, two singers, they're both really great singers. One is named Jayla Darden. She's from Detroit. She writes, mixes, masters, engineers all her own music. And you know, like, I can't teach her how to make songs. She has her own sound, but I can show her how to grow. Another girl, she's from Britain, her name is Amalu, and she's really special. She's a great vision. She's like 20 going on 40, and I think that she just needs somebody to kind of show her the ropes, but she's like a baby one, like a baby Frank Ocean, you know what I'm saying? They just need people to show them like this is the best way to do it. Here are the tools, like we were talking about before. Like this is the, you know, like I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just helping them get and learn it. And after they learn it, they're gonna figure it out on their own. So it's already happening now with the small artists. It's like, I don't just only work with like Travis or YG, like also people on the smaller scale that I love coming up, you know, because that's the best thing about the music business, is about helping people get to the next step.
So is an A&R like executive producer basically of an
Kind of. Because an A&R, depending on the role, you can be as involved as you want. Some A&Rs just book the sessions, you know, hand the albums. Some A&Rs get really hands involved. But I look at like an executive producer, somebody that's final say. Like I was meeting with Kanye Schaefer, who works for Amalu, and she goes to him to be like, this song is finished, add this, so on and so forth. So it's important for me to work with an executive producer. So like if I work with Travis, I'm his A&R, but then Mike Dean's gonna really finish it up. If I work with YG, I'm his A&R and I co-executive produce. But at the end of the day, Mustard is the one who really finishes it off. You know what I'm saying? There's always gonna be somebody in there who helps the artist like finalize the song. And because since I don't like make the music physical, I would try to depend on somebody, producer who's really in there.
What's up, man? Fellow Caribbean and New Yorker from Jamaica, Queens. Question is, as an A&R, how do you personally, like, what's your favorite way to keep your ear to the street and like find a new wave as opposed to just riding the wave? Like, do you actually spend time perusing SoundCloud, YouTube, and stuff like that to find new artists? And the second question is, like, for an aspiring artist like myself, what's the most effective way to present my music and my narrative to somebody like you or your peers?
So the first question, I think the best way for me is just to be like in the street. When I say in the street, it's kind of vague, so I want to be specifically like going out to certain events, just walking down the street. I'm really good at trendy spotting. You know what I mean? I like watching what people are wearing. I like listening to the slang that people are saying, what they're listening to, so on and so forth like that. A lot of being an A&R is just understanding trends and trend watching. You know, and you can't trend watch from your house. You need to go out and feel it. You know what I'm saying? And go out. Like if you have the opportunity to go to a concert, go. You have the opportunity to be on tour, you go on tour. You know, you have to be able to see things, and not just in music. Maybe like you see the trends in film, in TV, even if it's not your business, in fashion. Understand how everything plays a role, because a lot of times an album might be inspired by, like an album might be inspired by a movie. Like a big motivation for Birds in the Trap was Ex Machina. You know what I'm saying? So like, we are inspired by different things. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta pay attention to everything. And I think the second question is like, you come out to like events like this and just get in people's faces and just have people see you. You know what I'm saying? It's like those SoundCloud links on the DM don't work. You know, a lot of times people need to feel you and see you. So I think you're in the right state of mind.
Working with artists coming up, what were some of the red flags that you looked for, like, or bad habits that like destroyed artists or kind of pushed you away from working with them?
Not showing up on time for stuff, not really putting a lot of time and energy into things, you know, being unprepared, you know, not finishing things, or just trying to drop things too quickly, you know, trying to skip the steps, you know, you know, trying to put out music too fast. You know, like I like artists to really focus on the mixing a little bit more and have your own level of quality control. Like you should be your own worst critic. You know, and I think a lot of times that's when that step two comes involved, that intent. You know what I mean? If you try to do it for the wrong reasons, it'll show. And, you know, people aren't dumb, you know, especially fans of you. They know when you're doing something for clout or you're doing something you really want. You know, so I've come to see quickly what people's intents are behind doing things, because the intent will always kind of expose you. You know, like if you rush a problem, you're gonna feel it. You know what I mean? Like if why you're doing something, I feel like you just, I think like not showing up to your own stuff. You know what I mean? Because somebody can show up and perform bad, but if they came prepared and they're just nervous, they'll get through that. You know? But if they came and they're too cocky and they're just not, you don't even remember your lyrics, it's like, man, dude, you don't even care. You're not taking it seriously. The artists who are like taking it a little too seriously, those are the ones you want to work with, because it's like they're the ones who always want to constantly get better. Also, artists who like to play with their sound a little bit and really focus on the sound. Some artists just try to copy whatever sound is going on. And I think, you know, I think I'm best at. There's like two types of directors I heard. Like directors that really work the material to their style, and there's directors that adapt their style to the material. So I feel like as an A&R, it's the same thing. I'm like the latter. So like any of the projects I work on don't really sound like, artists I work on don't sound the same. Like Travis won't sound like YG, won't sound like Dirk, won't sound like Jeremiah, won't sound like Chef. They're gonna be the best versions of themselves versus like me trying to make them sound like something else. So like when I'm working with them, if you don't want to be the best version of yourself, if I know you're really working to try to be like somebody else, I'm running.
Thank you.
We have time for one more if you're in.
So, for someone applying to entry-level positions, considering between like a big label like Warner or an agency like CA or even like a small label, what path would you recommend that would open the most doors and give me lots of options to go after an entry-level position?
Okay, so let's use you specifically. So you got big agency, small label, big record label, right?
Sure, yeah.
Are you a sophomore, junior, senior?
Senior.
Or have you done an internship before?
Mm-hmm.
Which one? Which category?
Big level.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
That's not, what did you like about it?
Well, my position right now is just a college music influencer, so just like Instagram post promoting music. So it's not really like it doesn't feel like a real concrete position. I don't feel like I'm making a change, but I'm considering, going, pursuing a more full-time, bigger position at this label, or check out an agency or going to a smaller label.
Okay. Do you feel like the company's like, do you like the big company feel? Do you like a little bit more like hands-on, more things?
I'd like to be able to have, I wouldn't just want to be like a cog or just like a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to have a chance to like prove myself.
Okay. Well, if I was Casey, you won't get that at the agency because all the agency stories are like you got to start in the mailroom or assistant and work your way up. So you're gonna have the same problem with it. So I'd rather be working a small management label or a small record label who like even though you don't have like probably the most money or the most whatever, you get to work a wider range of things and learn a lot better. So when they grow, you grow. So I would kind of let them look for that. Another good thing you do now while you're working at the major label, you start seeing smaller companies who think they're not getting the same amount of attention. And you can really use that as an asset because you're like, hey, do you guys need help? I know I'm a college rep influencer, but I can do other things. And the sub company that's partnered with the record label would love your help because remember, like I said earlier, you have access and you're in the building. You can send emails, they can take meetings there, so on and so forth. So don't just totally like blow off the road now. Start looking for opportunities within there for small labels that you can partner with right now. So by the time you leave in that company, you've built those relationships and you end up over there. I've seen a lot of people partner with smaller companies in there and they end up really growing. Remember, I was brought in by Epic. Like Travis and LA Reid recruited me to work with Travis on the old album. And when I left to work with Interscope, I still work at Travis and Cactus Jack. You see what I'm saying? So I kind of got the best of both worlds. I like them both, but I got that opportunity being at the major label. So I would use my rest of my time there to try to find a small opportunity that you really like and fit. Don't focus on the job you don't like, focus on the job that you want.
Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you very much for being here.
There's one more thing I do, like, sometimes people don't like ask the questions in the public forum. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of nerve-wracking sometimes. So I got an email that I check, especially in the next 72 hours, so everything's still fresh. It's I'll give you like a little second if you want to email me. So sick, that's sick bank at Sickamore.co. Not like that .com, but so like just put in the subject like UCLA, and then that way I can just be focused on, the email and what we're doing. Because sometimes you have like some follow-up questions. I like the type of people I meet at school, especially schools like this. Is I always seem to meet great people and I get relationships long term. So that's my email, and especially in the next few days we can just. If you have any ideas, music, or whatever, just like anything. I'm trying to improve this concept so we can be able to help each other.
Awesome. So thank you again. Keep your eyes open for our events in the future. But yeah, thank you all for coming.
That's a wrap.